cordial thing you say even when you don't mean it.
Yeah,
I get it.
exactly.
With that. Okay, good. So can I start off just by getting you to introduce yourselves so
Yeah.
when people are editing that they know
Great.
who's who?
I'm Zach.
With a C.
Z-A-C is how I spell it. No H, no K. Just Z-A-C.
Yeah. I am Isaac, I-S-A-A-C. No double S's or double K's or anything like that. I-S-A-A-C.
And I'm Taylor. Google it.
Google it, bitches. All with the last name Hanson, H-A-N-S-O-N, as in the name of the band, not the Hanson Brothers or the Hanson Bros or the Hansons, just sort of Hanson singular.
Yes.
Anyway.
Brilliant. Good. Now, right, now you have to get you to talk to me. So what exactly are you doing here?
Well, tonight is the second night of something we called 5 of 5 London, and basically we're over here releasing our new album, Shout It Out. It's our 5th album. It came out today, and with that, we just felt like it was the perfect time to sort of look back to go forward. And so what we decided to do was do a residency, a 5-night stand where we play a full album each night. And the first night we played Middle of Nowhere, which was our very first record, and the second night we'll play This Time Around and Underneath, and then The Walk, and then the new album. And so sort of ending our stay here with premiering the new music for the first time. The UK fans are going to hear live performance of these new songs. It felt like a great way to go forward.
And are you enjoying playing the old stuff as much as the new stuff?
I think playing old stuff and new stuff, it's really about the experience of the entire career, and it's really not so much. I would actually say the playing the old stuff and the new stuff, I don't think there's really any favorites particularly.
I almost enjoy the old stuff more personally because it's such a challenge to remember. It's not that we don't play the old stuff in concerts, but to go back and try to authentically replicate an album, sort of listening to all the little subtleties of each part, and going back, it's sort of peeling off each layer to get to really the core of those records, and that's been fun to really challenge yourself each night with songs, because we're not repeating any songs. If you want to hear Umbop, you needed to be here last night because that's the night that Umbop was on that record. And if you want to hear a new song, you need to come in a couple nights when the new record's played, and it just makes it a special kind of experience because all the fans in the audience, in particular, I think for these shows, are particularly devoted fans because it's a small room. You had to really be on the ball to buy tickets because they sold out really quick. And
that being said, there was a guy last night who, during our Q&A session that we're doing before the shows, he actually asked the question, and it was his first concert.
Well, not saying that people hadn't, wasn't their first show or not, but just that he had to really get them. And I think it makes it particularly fun because all these fans, they know every lyric to every song. They're anticipating what the next song is, and in a way you don't normally have in a show, because in our shows we always change up the set lists. We always just sort of decide on stage, or 5 minutes or 10 minutes before we go on stage. But the shows here, the 5 of 5 London shows, everyone knows the set list because we're playing it like it's an album. We're playing it track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4, and so just sort of our fans sort of are anticipating that first lyric of the song because they know what's coming.
Yeah.
So playing the new stuff, people won't have that.
Yeah.
But are you expecting them to stand and listen and learn everything?
Well, doing these shows is really about pulling together 14 years of music, and with the final night, you get to premiere what will hopefully be something they'll sing years from now. And I would expect that, I think the fans, a lot of them have probably found the music online, to be perfectly honest, long before tonight.
But the good thing is it's coming out this week. So
it comes out for real today, and so I think the fans will most likely be excited to see it performed live. But it is the sort of live premiere of the music here in the UK. And when we did it the first time in New York, we performed these songs like this. It had definitely a feeling of excitement, of anticipation. It's sort of like pulling the curtains back and revealing something that you haven't seen before. And I mean, the other thing about these shows is we've always been a live band since the very first tour we did in 1998 when our drummer was 11 and our guitar player was 16 and the keyboard player over here was 14, and we, walking into places like Wembley Arena and touring the world, like being a live band was always important. And so I think these shows are not only about premiering Shout It Out and saying here's a new album, or even about going back and saying, hey, look at what we've done over the years. It's really about what we've done over the years as a musical entity, as a live entity, as a band that has performed all these albums in some way, in some shape or form, on stages all over the world. And this is sort of a way to tie together those threads and really present it as it has always been, which is, you have the album, and that's nice, but you don't really know the band until you see it on stage.
Yeah.
Let's face it, they're all going to know the new album by the time.
We are giving them a couple days because it comes out
Do your
today.
homework.
There's
Comes out today,
four
get the
more
album,
days. They can get
learn
they
the
can
album.
Listen to it for 4 days.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then be ready to sing it.
It was actually really exciting when we did it the first time in New York too, because in most all cases, and you could tell from the audience that they were only familiar with a handful of songs, because we had started to play them in the year before. We'd played a little bits and pieces, heard some clips, and then for the album to be fully premiered was definitely an exciting experience. It was cool to actually, because you don't normally have the experience of debuting completely fresh material to an audience in that way, and the reaction to, amongst other things, the latest single, Give a Little, was really, really positive. And it was a really cool reaction because you could tell it was completely visceral and completely genuine, and they had no particular context for it. And so it was a really exciting thing, and I think that the 505 London shows will be very similar.
You only get to do that once.
Yeah, exactly.
First impressions, and so you just gotta sort of enjoy the fact that to be on stage, seeing the reaction from people, playing this music for the first time, it's a special moment.
Let's talk about the single.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it too, and I like the video.
Thank you.
Cool.
Made me laugh. It's already gone down quite well in the States, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the latest single, Give a Little, which is the first single here in the UK, is a song about getting out and not being shy and making you move. Technically on the dance floor, but it could actually apply to other things as well in some form or another.
I think it's a really good representation, sort of an introduction to what this new album sounds like.
Yeah.
You hear lots of horn parts throughout that song, which is also something that's throughout the record. You hear sort of the throwback qualities of our original influences of 50s and 60s rock and roll and Motown records. I think you hear that particularly in this song. There's a certain kind of energy to it, I think, that does hopefully sort of release people and sort of breaks you out of your shell. And though the whole record is not necessarily all poppy, happy songs or sad songs for that matter, I think every song in its own way has that kind of a story to it about sort of breaking out of your shell, sort of breaking through adversity or whatever it is. And that's why the album being called Shout It Out sort of made sense. This video for this song, I think, also really represents the record. That's part of why this was such a perfect song to start with, because when you watch the video, there's lots of bright colors and painting and dancing. And
literally looks like the album covers.
It looks a lot like the album artwork, and you see, young people dancing, old people dancing, black people dancing, white people dancing, people who can dance amazingly, and then sort of people who can't, like us, doing a little bit of dancing. And so I think it should just, it's like that great introduction to this new chapter in where we are as a band. Not that we're in the same book. It's just sort of the new chapter of this record.
Yeah.
I was disappointed there wasn't more dancing from you lot.
Well,
we had to cut a lot of it out. It was really
there's on this record there's turned out to be this theme of dancing, not from the point of view of like pop and lock, but more like movement and kind of excitement. And of course, we've never danced ever in our video.
Except
so
for taking the piss out of ourselves.
Yeah, except for being stupid. And so it's kind of ironic that 5 albums later, there's this video and the other single, Think About Something, has actually like a whole group of hundreds of people dancing together,
which we'll get to later at some point.
And so I think the thing about the band and the way we make music is we play off of each other, and everybody brings kind of different elements. And with Give a Little, it really is sort of like a very stripped back arrangement. It really is. It's just there's a guitar riff, there's a kick pedal, a lot of rhythm, and I think when you hear it, the everything that's on there was very much sort of, totally meant to be. And I think with great songs that make you want to move, oftentimes it's the simplest. It's not about layering with tons of stuff. It's about finding that core thing that just makes you want to move.
Bare essentials.
And we feel like that. Give a Little has one of those, at least when you perform it live and when you see with the fan reaction, it's one of those songs that there's nothing else except for those things that make you want to move.
I actually have to say that, and to expand on it just a little bit, but I think Shout It Out, I think more so than most of the records in the last 15 years, has a stronger connection even to our first record than many records have, because of really strongly reconnecting with those early R&B and early pop roots and the stuff that we grew up listening to, which has always been a part of our music, but is a really strong theme on this record. I think you hear, hopefully, cross your fingers, what excited people about what it was that we do as a band in the first place. And I think even when you listen to a song like Give a Little, compare it to early singles like Where's the Love or even Umbop, I think that there are a lot of similarities, guitar riff and drum kind of based music. I mean, Give a Little is almost the most similar to Umbop of any song I can think of that we've done.
Except for it doesn't have an invented word in it.
Yeah, that's true,
Well,
too.
and it's totally its own song,
But I was just kind of thinking about those as comparisons because, it is weird to talk about music in words without just playing it. But on some level or another, I think that this record has kind of found us in a really nice, comfortable musical place. I think we feel really, really good about what has come out and what this record's doing.
You guys don't mind playing Umbop live, though, do you? I mean, it was really big, a lot of places.
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
it?
we love Umbop. I mean, Umbop is a song that we wrote when I was like 8.
Yeah.
And it's something we're really proud of. Obviously anything that is, almost 20 years old, it isn't perfectly representing what you're doing today, but it's part of our history. It's part of what brings you to today. You have to write that song to write the next song, and it helps inspire you. And so I think we're really proud of that song. I mean, you always want to, you're always most excited about what you're doing right now. Those
because it's the freshest
that are most recent. Those songs that are most recent always sort of represent your life and where you are the most, and so that's sort of where your head is. But when we get to go out on stage and play really any song that the audience screams every lyric back to, you can't help but enjoy yourself. Anybody who says they don't enjoy that shouldn't be a musician, because our job as a band is to be proud of who we are, make music that we'll be proud of for 20, 50 years, and so partly also for our fans. I mean, those songs don't mean the same thing they meant 15 years ago. Songs like Umbop, songs like If Only and Where's the Love, and they hear those songs, and it's part of why they love the band. It's part of why they love the new record. It's part of why they love the old record. Those things all connect together, the memories and the life that's associated with it. And so you just got to hope that you continue to make music that can last as long as a song like Umbop. That we can live up to our own bars that we've been lucky enough to set for ourselves. Like, oh wow, that was a hit song, and you always you make music for yourself. And I think when you do that, you will be proud of it for your life because you made it for you. You didn't compromise for anybody else, and we just sort of keep doing that, and it makes it fun to play.
So that's taking care of your kind of music philosophy over the last, did you say 15 years?
Well,
15 years.
It depends on when you start counting,
Yeah. So what takes care of everything else? Because obviously you've all seemed quite sane and stable, and you haven't gone off the rails.
We're really good actors. We leave people thinking that we're sane, but most of our friends probably think we're a bit insane in our own way.
We there's this sort of two-sided thing with the band. Obviously, we really are pulled together by the music. That's the thing that keeps us sane in some ways, because we didn't
Definitely
get
not the
in
fact
this
that
to
we're
be
brothers.
We didn't get in, yeah, not because we're brothers. We didn't get in this to be famous. It was like famous, you know, it was sort of like, well, if you're going to succeed, you're going to have to be famous because people have to know what you're doing.
Fame is the result of doing something
So
successfully.
I think that's one key thing, and it will always be the case. And if you watch interviews from 15 years ago, that's what we always said. It's like we're geeks about music. That's what we like doing, and we've been lucky enough to have a little bit of talent enough that people like it, so we can do it.
Exactly.
I think that from the beginning we've always just had the sense that what we are and what we get to do is not necessarily something that is sort of deserved, but it's something that we get to do, because
Or something that's earned.
99% of people who go out to say I want to be in a band don't succeed at it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's most people don't recoup the cost of making an album, let alone succeed and get to tour the world and do it. So we just, I think, always had this sort of respectful, optimism, but also kind of realization that at any moment you could not have this gig. And so I think, we're just sort of respectful of what we get to do, and I think that's kept us kind of an even keel. And the other thing I think is not necessarily that we're brothers, but the way our relationship is, the three of us, I think it's good to have someone that will tell you straight, because believe me, we're very, very straight with each other. And
Too straight sometimes.
Sometimes to the point of like, okay, relax. But that's part of what kind of keeps you in check. And I think for a lot of artists, you just end up floating off into the distance and winding up in a gutter somewhere years down the line, wondering where your actual life went. And I think for us, it's, we've always been able to sort of keep one another, somewhere in the middle.
I guess it's the danger of yes men, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you get some success, you get people around you that aren't.
Sycophants are a dangerous breed.
You should always make sure that you have several people around you that are there that are not being paid by you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if you look around and you realize that anyone that was standing next to you would be gone if they didn't have a salary, then you should probably check yourself.
Exactly. And luckily we've had a lot of consistent people around who were not those types of people, not the type that would that was there to reap the rewards of their relationship with you, and that most everybody who's been around us, whether it be in some form or another, even musician friends of ours, as well as just buddies down the road kind of thing, have always kind of stuck around with us, and we've kind of made that a focus of our lives
and
'cause
given
we
us
knew
crap.
it was important. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lots of crap.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. How does it work with families on the road?
How
Family-
does it work with families? On the
Yeah.
That's a big
Challenge.
challenge. It's sort of a circus. We all have families. We're all married. All have kids. He's got 4. I've got 2. I've got 2. And it's a hard thing. We luckily have amazing wives who we met while touring on the road. And so they sort of understood from the beginning what life they were going to be a part of. And they knew that. And we joke, particularly when Taylor got married, because he got married first, that his wife sort of married the band. Not him, because it's we,
or at
each
least
of
the
us
band
individually,
lifestyle anyway, certainly.
We're songwriters and performers, and so the music is not just what you do, it's who you are, it's your life, you're representing your outlook on the world, and so it's
hard to turn that off. There's not really a complete off switch.
It's sort of impossible.
Yeah, but I will say that the family balance, I think part of what makes it work again for us as a unit is everybody is definitely different. I mean, the stuff that we do when we're not necessarily working, for those small moments. I think partly that gives us balance. Everybody's relationships take them in different directions, even with our families and the things that we choose to do. And I think that healthy reality that everybody's kind of, into different things and kind of has these different sort of relationships and pools of family and friends, as close as we are, that difference is, I think, part of what kind of just continues to keep life kind of in balance. And of course, we would not be able to do this without having wives that are just amazing, and it
And
really
very
can,
patient
can
and-
handle
yeah,
this.
exactly.
Can handle like, oh yeah, well we're probably going to be gone for 2 months, and you can meet us in wherever it is,
These places,
in London and Poughkeepsie, and come on tour
I'll
for
see
2
you for
weeks.
2
and,
hours.
That's just that's just part of it. You take what you can get.
I think actually in some ways, and this is maybe a little bit of an offshoot, but I think it kind of makes sense. The band in a lot of ways I feel like has been good. I guess you could say good training for a healthy relationship on some level or another.
Or an unhealthy.
Or an unhealthy relationship, which is just that you realize really quickly on that nothing good ever comes easy, and it always requires a lot of work. And the thing for us is we have a lot of mutual respect for one another, and that is the key to any valuable relationship, to any functioning relationship. And you also don't take things too personally as much as possible. I mean, especially in the band. And I think what you just kind of do your best to realize that that things are fragile, and that you've got to be willing to work at it.
Yeah.
Willing to work at it. I think people give up too quickly, oftentimes.
Just
And
work at
You
it.
just got to work at it.
Just work.
Be
Just
patient.
keep
We're from
working.
Oklahoma. We work.
Yeah, exactly.
We're-
Just think of it
Get
like
the backbone, the
digging.
Dust Bowl.
you just
Yeah.
got to keep digging.
One question, because we're so out of time. But you mentioned when you're not kind of doing the band
Yeah.
that you all have different interests. So
Yeah.
what are they?
I mean, kind of. We all are. They say you're a geek about something. Everybody like geeks out about something. I mean, like I'm just into sort of all random cultural things like architecture, photography, and like painting.
Yeah.
I mean, Zach's a total.
Yeah, I'm a total geek about video games, and there's a sport that's actually particularly big over here called airsoft. It's sort of a mill sim
paintball
thing.
square.
Yeah, so it's really
Yeah.
fun.
I'm kind of a bit of a technician, and kind of a tad bit of. I like things like, pipes and scotch and things of that nature.
Sitting
See
with your
old man
1920s
Hanson.
typewriter
sitting
writing
with my
your novels.
1920s typewriter and writing novels, things of that nature. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit. I think I'm kind of. All of my things are a bit introverted, despite my normally very extroverted personality.
It's the balance.
But, yeah.
It's all about balance. Can I get you guys to do an identity?
Yes.
Sure.
Introduce yourselves. You don't have to spell this
Yeah.
time if you don't want. And just say that you're watching Entertainment Now.
Okay.
Right now. Okay, go for it.
I'll say it here. Yeah.
Okay. Hey everybody, I'm Isaac.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Zach.
And
we're
we're
Hanson.
Hanson. And you're watching Entertainment Now.
So slick.
Does that work? Need any more?
Yeah. You've done it before?